talking about communication earlier. What would be your tips for an aspiring chief executive or someone who's aspiring for that role to become CEO? What would be the short list that you'd give them in terms of board relations?
Well, you know, the corollary to what I was just talking about is that not everyone on a board has the same kind of direction that I do, where you're supposed to be challenging and supposed to be a skeptic. Many come on the board thinking they're there to support the management, to support their decisions. But that, you know, I don't see it that way, and that's not everybody sees it my way. I do think it's the right way. And that's what I've learned through all my research. Before I went on a public board, I did a lot of research, and that's where I came up was that your role is to be a beneficial adversary to management.
Yes.
Beneficial being an important part of that. You see what happens and what CEOs tend to do when they do get in the seat is to stock their board with people that they know and have confidence in and have relationships with and have some quid pro quo somewhere along the way and in past dealings, to keep that adversarial relationship to a minimum, or to, you know, just have a rubber stamp board. That is unchecked. That is what CEOs will do, and you see plenty of examples of that. And I know there is no perfect way to do it. But look, I think the way a CEO, and it's difficult for a CEO to deal with that number of people, 12 or whatever number of people, and they're all different. And, you know, having a lead director or a chairman, I think, is a positive thing, because that gives a layer of distance that can be used to negotiate issues. And I think it's a very good way to do it. So I think I think having either of those positions or even both those positions are good.
Mm-hmm.
So from a CEO's perspective, though, when you do first get to that seat, it's important to develop trust and a good, solid relationship with each of the board members, or at least a majority of the board members, so that you can have a shorthand and you can have conversations and you can ask for advice and you can ask for direction, and you don't necessarily have to take it, but you have to recognize that you did ask for it and at least answer why you didn't do it, whatever that direction or idea might have been. But it's important to develop those relationships, and it's all relationship based. I don't know how else to describe it, except you do need to develop a relationship that allows for conversation and back and forth and explanation, and also, very importantly, to be consistent in your communication, both in the number and kind of communication you have and what you say in those communications. Like, you know, I've seen on some of the boards I've been on where a CEO in one board meeting will make a pitch about something or a presentation about something or an ask about something, then 2 board meetings later go the exact opposite direction without any recognition that they went down that road in the first place. You have to recognize what you've said and what you've put forth before you change it, or at least talk about why you changed it and before you go forward again. So those are the things that really, I think, trouble board members the most.
From your industry, to me, that last point that you were making sounds very much like a continuity director. And I've seen it as I've been on the inside of companies where the topic continues to evolve and there hasn't been the communication flow. So by the time you get back there, the Coke bottle can and the Perrier are not sitting in the same place where that scene was shot last. And you're wondering why it's a complete reversal. And
I call it board whiplash. And it is disconcerting.
Yes, and the loving critic role that we play as advisors in doing this governance, I think it often is surprising that at the end of the day, there is so much depth of experience and such individual perspectives on that. Do you recommend one-on-one engagement with, as you say, building those relationships? It would suggest that you both make sure that your presentations are not just so overly scripted they don't allow input.
Well, I think initially when you first sit in the seat, and you have a sitting board, you need to develop well, you probably would, if you're not new to the company, have some relationship already. But if you come from outside, you need to have to develop a relationship with each of the people to some degree at the start. That doesn't have to continue on a continual basis, but you do have to have some connection somewhere along the way so that there is some trust and some credibility. The last thing you want to do is have people questioning whether you're telling them the truth or giving them, false narratives, or just saying whatever it is you think you need to say to get them to agree with what you're trying to do. Those things don't work. If you have a relationship of trust and credibility where you've shown some vulnerability, which is an important thing to do also, because everyone knows no one's perfect. And I found in my career and in my board life that if you show some vulnerability and some exposure to failure on your own part, that goes a long way to people having credibility with you, or believing in you, or believing in what you say and what you do, because you're not taking the position that whatever you say is law. You're taking the position that here's some information, let's try to discuss it and see if we can forward our agenda here.